everybody, Sam Amico Hoops Wire live on 330 to go. We're getting toward the end of the regular season here for the Cavaliers. And if you're watching this live, and I hope you're watching it somewhat close to live, because this particular show is going to be a lot about Friday night's game, which of course is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who you know and love, at the Boston Celtics, who you probably think less of. And it's the final matchup of the regular season. This is the first time this season the Cavs will have faced the Celtics with DeAndre Hunter, which is why pretty much they went out and got him to defend the Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatums of the world, Celtic star wings. And you'll probably also see Jaylen Brown a little bit on taller guys like, I don't know so much about Porzingis, but we'll get to that in a second, but probably Al Horford a little bit. So that's number one. Number two is the Cavs are fully healthy. They have no one on their injured report. Darius Garland's going to come back from a 2-game absence after suffering a hip contusion. I play old man basketball in Medina, 2 or 3 times a week, I guess, or I should say 1 or 2. And that's all the guys want to know is, why does Darius Garland keep getting hit in the face? It's almost like Sam is the Darius Garland hit in the face expert. And I wear that badge with a little bit of honor. But I feel sorry for Darius that we have to continue to talk about that. And interestingly, he got hit in the face against the Knicks twice. Well, once he got hit in the face and had to, kind of bend over and collect himself. And then the very next trip down the floor, he drove to the basket, took a hard fall, and it looked like he had hit his head. But the actual injury was he kind of landed on his hip and suffered a bruised hip. I think Darius would have played in that game at Orlando, but he was healthy enough to do it. But clearly the Cavs did not need him. Winning by 40 points on the road in their previous game. The Cavs have won 8 in a row overall. They're 6-0 with DeAndre Hunter in the lineup heading into this game against the defending world champion Boston Celtics. And they've been cooking. But that game in Orlando, they won by 40 points, which surprised me. I called one of my buddies. We were on the phone talking about that game before the game, and I said, this is kind of a schedule loss. Cavs are due to lose. Orlando's tough. They're big. They're physical. They gave the Cavs fits last year in the playoffs. And as usual, I couldn't have been more wrong. The Cavs went out, won by 40 points, and my buddy texted me right after the game, and he said, remember when you said the Cavs would probably lose tonight? LOL. And so, you know what? Delete, block. That guy is no longer my friend. So, anyway, they won by 40, which matched their their franchise record for points in a win on a road. The differential. I don't know how to say that properly, but they also won by 40 points in a road game in 1988 against Charlotte. So those are the two highest. Had they scored one more point, then I wouldn't have so much trouble spitting this out. They would have won by 41, and then they would have set the record. But as it is, they're really rolling right now into Boston. And you know what? I think they're playing at this point as well as they did during that 15-game winning streak. And should they win in Boston, I don't know when the next loss might be. I mean, you have to be worried about every game. After Boston, they come back home. They play the Portland Trailblazers Sunday afternoon. Trailblazers are supposed to stink. Somebody forgot to tell them they've won 13 of 18, even though they're not going to the playoffs. They're going to be playing, for the NBA draft lottery. So, but they're a dangerous team right now. Chauncey Billups has done a wonderful job. The former Detroit Pistons done a wonderful job with the Portland Trailblazers as their coach. And, it's funny. Sometimes that's why you don't just fire the coach, because last year at the end of the season, everybody was saying that the Blazers probably need to move on from Chauncey Billups, but he has this young, kind of undermanned team playing very hard. And, Kenny Atkinson has said, those are the games you worry about. You don't worry about, as a coach, Kenny Atkinson said, you don't worry about your players getting up for the Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks, the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Houston Rockets. You don't worry about that, or the Lakers or the Warriors, because your players are going to be up for those games. It's these Sunday afternoon home games, to kick off March against teams that aren't that exciting, aren't getting any sort of national buzz in the Portland Trail Blazers. So Friday night, Cavs, they're going to be fired up. How much does this game against the Celtics mean? And it's the final regular season game, right, against Boston. They've already played them 3 times. Not everybody's been healthy those first 3 games. But the Cavs are 1-2 on the season against the Celtics. Boston's coming off a loss, which is going to be dangerous. They lost to J.B. Bickerstaff and the Detroit Pistons on Wednesday night. So they know the Cavs are playing extremely well. They know the Cavs went out and got DeAndre Hunter to help defend the Jaylen Browns, Jason Tatums, and, even Derek White's, Drew Holiday's. Really, DeAndre Hunter is a guy who's going to be able to defend 1 through 4. And by that, I mean point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and theoretically some centers. This is not my philosophy. This is what Kenny Atkinson said when the Cavs got DeAndre Hunter in that trade with the Atlanta Hawks. So I think that, Boston's going to be especially motivated. Look, the Cavs were 15-0 the last time they went to Boston. And Boston built that huge lead and then hung on and won by a basket, right? This is a different Cavs team. Cavs have all their players. Cavs were missing, I think, Isaac Okoro for that game, Dean Wade in Boston earlier this year. It seems like 3 years ago now. But they know, the Cavs and the Celtics know. Number one, they know it's just the regular season. We still have like 22 more games to go. That said, why is this more than just, it's just another regular season game? Because the players, if there's one thing NBA players I could tell you are very aware of from years of covering these, obviously from years of covering the Cavaliers and the NBA out of Cleveland, they're very aware of the narrative. Okay? What's Stephen A. going to talk about? What are the national, NBA Today on ESPN, or what Inside the NBA on TNT, Hoops Wire Live on 330 to go? What's the narrative going to be after this game? The Celtics win, which really doesn't mean anything other than a regular season win in Boston. They should win. They should be favored. Cavs have won 8 straight. They're due to lose. I doubt they'll go undefeated with DeAndre Hunter on the team. I doubt it. I don't mean to be a negative Nancy, but to me it just seems unlikely. So Boston is at home. The Cavs are quote-unquote due to lose. And in reality, if the Celtics win, then, that's the expectation, is Boston, the defending champs, fully healthy, should be able to win a home game against the Cavaliers. And for a second there, I really had to sneeze, which I've never done yet on the show. I've done a lot of silly, stupid stuff, but I have not sneezed. So thank heavens that went away for now. There's still time. And then the Cavaliers, look, they know, if we win in Boston, the narrative is we're going to be the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. Not necessarily true. They're the team to beat in the Eastern Conference because they, are going to go in with the number 1 seed. But until they get past the Celtics, everybody's going to think it's the Celtics. So we know all this already, that this is all about the narrative. But that's why this game, I suspect, will have a lot of intensity. Last time the Cavs went into a situation really, to me, was Friday night against the Knicks at home, and the Cavs just blew them out of the water. And they answered the bell on that game. But before that really was when they went into Oklahoma City a week after beating them and just didn't show up. Oklahoma City was physical, pushed them around. Game was on TNT, I believe, and it was blowout city. The Cavs, it's the worst game of the season. So what they want to do is avoid that against the Celtics, right? You go in, you play well, you lose in their place, no harm done, in my opinion. And since this is my show, my opinion's the only one that matters. And I also, as you can see, will laugh at my own jokes from time to time. But anyway, I think that this game in and of itself doesn't, you have to keep perspective about it, but it's exciting. For the NBA regular season, these games are exciting, which is number one in the Eastern Conference at the moment, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they have, a 6-game lead over Boston. I suspect they're going to be able to hold that lead unless something goes horribly awry. And even if they lose in Boston, they'll still have a 5-game lead for the number one seed in the Eastern Conference. Number two, I think that for the most part, Boston's going to stay second. I do think that this is pretty much a 2-team race in the Eastern Conference right now. The Knicks cannot beat, what are they, 0-7 against the Celtics, Cavs, Thunder, and I think that's it. I think there might be one more in there. They still have to, the Knicks and the Cavs still have to play 2 more times. So, there's a lot that's going to happen in these final stretches here. The Cavs play Miami again, and Miami's obviously a mess right now after that Jimmy Butler trade, just not as good as they once were. And speaking of the Heat, have you ever thought about this while lying awake in bed at night, like your favorite NBA insider has done? Kevin Love was traded for Andrew Wiggins. Remember back in 2014, for those of you who have been following the NBA for a decade now, when LeBron came back, Cavs traded then rookie, number 1 overall pick Andrew Wiggins to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Kevin Love, in a deal that also included former number 1 overall pick Anthony Bennett, for those of you who remember him. Wonderfully nice guy. Feel bad that he is looked at as the biggest NBA bust of the past 20 years. But you know what? There are worse things to be called in life, right? And I can tell you, I've probably been called a lot of them. But so the Cavs traded Kevin Love for Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins for Kevin Love. And now they're teammates with the Miami Heat a decade later. It's kind of funny how the NBA works. A lot of guys end up as teammates after they've been traded for each other. And I think, in a league, it's not like the NFL where you have 52 guys on a team. In the NBA, you have about 400 players, right? 400 full-timers, 30 teams times 15 guys. I don't know the math there. They promised me no math with this job. I'm lucky if I could multiply 30 times 2. So 30 times 15, forget it. What is that, 450? I don't know. Somebody get on the math and let us know. But anyway, so, it's funny. I'm going to get off topic here for a second. My buddy, who co-owns my website, runs an NFL website. That's his full-time job. And I look, and they have 30 posts on there every day. And I'm like, we have 14, 15, some days 17 a day on our website, hoopswire.com. And I'm like, why does he have so much more than us? He has double what we do every day. And I'm like, well, he's got more coaches in the NFL. He's got more players in the NFL. He's got more rumors and news coming out of the NFL. So if you wonder why I have less posts on my website, if this is what you think about during the day, as guys such as myself do, there's your explanation. The NBA, a lot of players end up together in some way, shape, or form. So, I think I just killed 5 minutes with that, but the whole point of this show really is the Cavs versus the Celtics and what to make of it. And is it an Eastern Conference Finals preview? I would say, theoretically, yes. You would think that these are the two teams that are going to meet in the East Finals. If the standings hold, and the Cavs end up number 1 in the Eastern Conference seedings, and the Celtics end up number 2, they would not be able to meet until the Eastern Conference Finals. But, the thing about the playoffs is you never know. You just never know. In the NBA, it used to be like, yeah, we know who's going to the finals, right? It's going to be the Cavs and the Warriors every year when LeBron James was in town and the Warriors were at their peak. I have no idea. I would think that the Cavs, sorry to say, the Celtics, until somebody knocks them off, are the defending champs, and they're still the favorites until somebody knocks them off in the playoffs. But I think I know the Cavs think we could beat these guys in a 7-game series with home court advantage. Now, the thing that the Cavs are going to find, and I'm sure they already know, is that you always have to win a road game in the playoffs. Nobody's ever won a championship without winning a road game in the playoffs. Do you know that? Somebody's at least won one. Usually you win 2 or 3 on your way. So, and the Celtics have done this. They've won road games in the playoffs. They've experienced all this. The Cavs won road games in the playoffs too, but just not last season, right? Yeah. No, they lost all their games in Orlando and lost all their games in Boston last year. Obviously, a different team in the sense that this is a team that's very confident, has been playing extremely well. The one reason that I think that the Cavs, it'd be nice if they were to win Friday, narrative aside, is the fact they've been playing so well and they've been playing so together that it would be nice to see them keep that going against Boston and get on another long winning streak. They still have the Cavaliers still have a West Coast trip coming up, which is not an easy road there. Going on the West Coast never is. I think they went 4-0 on their last trip, at the Lakers, at the Warriors, at the Nuggets. And who else did they get in there? I don't even remember. But they still have to play Phoenix, which is really struggling in Phoenix, the Clippers, all those teams. So they got another West Coast trip coming up, and be nice. They have a home stretch here. Be nice for them to be able to take care of business at home. So, it feels like the Cavs have been on the road for so long, even though it's just been like 4 or 5 days. I haven't really had a chance to see the guys, but I can tell you this. First of all, Tristan Thompson was walking through the locker room the other day calling DeAndre Hunter Kawhi Leonard light. So, for those of you who know who Kawhi Leonard is, when he's healthy, which is not often, he's one of the top, what they call the 3-and-D guys, meaning he can hit threes and he can defend wings. And he's made a career out of being one of the best in NBA history at that. Kawhi Leonard has. And DeAndre Hunter does have a very similar game to Kawhi Leonard. But I never thought of it till Tristan Thompson was walking through the locker room the other day, shouting that out in DeAndre Hunter's direction, and DeAndre kind of laughed. The other great story is Jared Allen hurt his hand, right? I guess it was against the Knicks, whether it was on the rim or whatever, and then he taped it up. But I started to walk over to Jared after that game against the Knicks, and his locker's like 2 or 3 lockers over from Donovan Mitchell. And I just was walking over to Jarrett to see how his hand was and if he thought it was serious or whatever. So I walked over and Donovan steps in. He says, no. He's fine. He's fine. He's going to play Sunday or whenever it is we play again. Donovan didn't even know it was Sunday, though. And he said, he'll be playing. Don't you worry about it. Jarrett just kind of looked at me and shrugged and laughed, as if Donovan was his spokesperson. And guess what? Jared Allen has played. He told Coach Kenny Atkinson at the start of the year, I want to play in all 82. So tell the medical staff when I have a bruise or something and we have a game against, whatever lousy team coming up, not to rest me or to sit me out to make sure the injury's healed. He's like, I'll be fine unless it's something serious. I want to play in all 82. So I admired that about Tristan. I admired that about Donovan. Even though he was kind of goofing around, he was like, don't worry, Jared's going to be fine. He's going to play in all 82. So, Yeah, they're a very connected group, having a lot of fun. Like I said, I've been doing this since the days when I was filing my stories on Chisel and Granite, and I have not seen a group this connected. Ty Jerome is a story unto himself, by the way, who DeAndre Hunter's best friend. Those two are so tight they vacation together during the All-Star break, which is rare with your teammates. Usually you want a break from them too. You see them all the time, right? So you just want a nice little break. But DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome are super tight. And I think, that's going to play a big role in Ty Jerome being back next season. He's been fantastic. He's a free agent. Somebody's going to offer him probably a lot of money, but there are a lot of paths for him to remain with the Cavs after the season. And I think there's probably a pretty good chance that Ty Jerome is back next year. Just been, one of the top 2 or 3 individual stories in the NBA this year, Ty Jerome, after missing all of last year. I remember seeing him around the team last year, or practice or whatever, in a walking boot or with crutches or whatever. Just did not look like a guy who wanted to play. But the way he's come back this year, and, the Cavs beat the Orlando Magic by 40 points the other night, right? Ty Jerome led the team in scoring with 20. Nobody else hit 20. And the Cavs had what? 122 points. They won 122-82. And that just shows you how balanced this team is. They didn't have Darius Garland. And Donovan Mitchell had 11 points in that game. And the Cavs still won by 40. And a lot of that is because of the rise of guys like Ty Jerome, the addition of DeAndre Hunter. Max Strus played really well. He came out and hit 2 threes, opened up that game. The Cavs went up 8-0. And, you look at a guy like Max Strus, who we don't really talk about, but, he's been your starting small forward. And I'm assuming that's going to be the case moving forward because the Cavs like having that firepower of DeAndre Hunter and Ty Jerome off the bench. DeAndre Hunter also has a great shot at winning NBA Sixth Man of the Year. So I think that the Cavs rotation, what we see right now, people have said, is DeAndre Hunter going to keep coming off the bench? The answer is probably yes. Until it looks like it's not going to work anymore. But I think that, you start Max Strus. If he only plays 3 minutes after starting, then you put in DeAndre Hunter. Or maybe Max Strus is hot, and you put DeAndre Hunter in for somebody else. So, this is all Kenny Atkinson. It's a good problem to have. You're going to have to juggle lineups, juggle rotations, juggle playing time. I still think that the Cavs are probably, they have Naquan Tomlin on a 10-day contract. I don't know if they're going to renew that after the 10 days are up. That's almost expired. But I think that they will probably add a veteran big man going into the playoffs. Now, listen, here's the NBA rule. Anybody who's on a roster as of March 1st and then gets waived, if they sign, so say there's a center right now on another team that's not playing, that could get waived, and the Cavs might have an interest in signing this guy, this guy cannot be on the roster of another team as of March 1st. And I believe that's tomorrow, right? This is not leap year. I remember, this, by the way, this is almost the 1 year anniversary, or a little more than the 1 year anniversary of Hoops Wire Live, because I remember last year talking endlessly about not understanding why there's a leap year. We can figure that out before the end of this season. Anyway, if this player is still on another roster as of March 1st and the Cavs sign him, he's ineligible for the playoffs. So right now the Cavs are anybody who's waived today. Sometimes teams will waive guys knowing that, look, we're going to give you a chance to go sign with somebody and be on their playoff roster. Now, if the guy is not currently on a team, not at all, he's an NBA free agent on our NBA free agent list on Hoops Wire Live, he can sign the last day of the regular season and be eligible for the playoffs. That's a lot to take in about a guy who's probably not going to play and would be signed only as an insurance policy. We saw Javonte Green finally play for the Cavs. He's 31 years old, was waived by the Pelicans. The Cavs signed him. He didn't play the first game. He played in garbage time against the Magic, and there was lots of garbage time in that game because of the blowout status of it. And Javonte Green's probably going to be that guy. He's going to be your 12th, 13th guy. Theoretically, hopefully, that everybody stays healthy. But if not, you have that assurance of, and Javonte Green knew that when he came to Cleveland. Look, you're probably not going to play most nights. There's 48 minutes in a game. There's only so many minutes to go around. The one thing fans constantly ask me, and it's the only time I get annoyed at you guys. Why didn't Javonte Green play? Well, okay, so you're going to sit Donovan Mitchell, Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, Max Strus, DeAndre Hunter. You're going to sit those guys just so you can say, oh, look, Javonte Green played. You only have so many minutes to go around. And I forgot Sam Merrill in there. All of these guys, and probably Ty Jerome, even though he's the backup point guard, he also plays some wing spot. You know, the Cavs have all these interchangeable parts, but they have so many already. Javonte Green is there, and he knows his role. And that's the good news. Fits in the locker room. You can't play everybody. You just cannot play everybody. It's just not possible. And if you play Javonte Green, you're doing it at the expense of, Isaac Okoro, you're sitting. Now, I know maybe some fans would be in favor of that, but that aside, Isaac Okoro would not be in favor of it. You have to keep team morale and chemistry. You got to keep that high. You can't just stick a guy in a game because you want to play him. Well, give him 3 minutes. You can't. Those 3 minutes are Sam Merrill's or Isaac Okoro's. And until those guys just fall off the rails, if that were to happen, and just suddenly start being terrible, then you can't pull them out of the lineup. You have to show guys you have faith in them. And that's not always easy to do for a coach. I guarantee you, sometimes, Kenny Atkinson has come out and said, sometimes we put in the reserves, and I'm like, I don't want to do this right now. I don't want to stick with our rotations. And the assistant coaches will tell him, just do it. You got to show faith. You've got to do it. And a lot of times Kenny Atkinson has said, I haven't wanted to do it because the game's been tight late. But, the guys that I may not have had faith in, the lineups I may not have had faith in, delivered. Sometimes they don't, but guess what? You have to rest guys, and you have to play guys. So I just think that there's a misunderstanding of how many minutes there are to go around. That's okay. I'm paid to be the expert and whatever it is you want to consider me. You guys have actual lives. So I'm not mad at you, but it's just the one question that annoys me is why isn't this guy playing, or why aren't the Cavs going out and getting another big guy? Because, they're 48-10. The NBA's been around since 1947. Only 18 teams have gone 48-10. Okay? So they're feeling pretty good. And unlike everybody else, they're not worried about the playoffs right now. I mean, a little bit. Kenny Atkinson has said, I want to see us get into playoff mode before the playoffs. Okay? So there's 20-some games. They'll probably do that the last 10 games. Right now, the idea is to keep winning, keep feeling good about yourself. And if you need to go out and get a backup big guy who's not going to play, you hope he doesn't play. You know what I mean? The rotation's set. You either have Jared Allen on the floor or Evan Mobley on the floor. Sometimes you have them, obviously, they start the game on the floor together. When they don't, you got one or the other in the game, and you need both of those guys. Going out and getting an assurance like Frank Kaminsky, whoever's on our available free agent list right now. Go out and get one of those guys. It's not going to help you if you get desperate. Now, maybe they could, somebody like that can give Allen and Mobley a breather, but they're not going to be part of the rotation. Kenny Atkinson's not going to go out of his way to, put some guy in the rotation that nobody else wants. You know what I mean? Just not going to happen. So is that player there for assurance? If you go out and sign a big guy, sure. But you're not going to beat the Boston Celtics if Jared Allen or Evan Mobley go down. You're just not going to. No matter who you sign off that free agent list now. That player is not good enough. I guarantee you. So you got to hope for good health more than go out and get another big guy. It's just the bottom line. So there's no sense amongst the Cavs front office that, hey, we need to go out and get another big man. We'd like to get one for practice. Maybe Tomlin is that guy. You know, Pete Nance, our good friend Pete Nance, just signed with the Milwaukee Bucks, a 2-way deal. So I think that that's what the Cavs are going to do, is they're going to probably bring in a younger guy. And, you know, you just have to... DeAndre Hunter, obviously, defensively, can guard opposing centers. I wouldn't be surprised to see him on Kristaps Porzingis a little bit in this Cavs-Celtics matchup. So, I guess that's probably about it. I don't want to leave on a negative note, though. I love you guys for watching. and I never really get that annoyed because I know this is part of my job. Everywhere I go, people want to come up to me. Not everywhere I go. Usually only where there's guys want to come up to me and talk to me about the Cavs, and I love it. I love it. I love to talk about the Cavs. I feel very blessed that I have this job. And I think that, you know, who's having more fun than the Cavaliers, the people who love them, and the people who get to cover them? No one in the NBA right now, not even the Thunder. The Thunder all of a sudden have struggled. I'm sure their fan base, if there's some guy in Oklahoma doing a 3-3-0 to go show, I'm sure he's trying to give their fans perspective and saying, don't worry about, you know, blowing a 16-point lead against the Minnesota Timberwolves the other night and losing that game. Don't worry about the fact that the Thunder have lost, 2 of 4 or 3 of 5 or something like that. And that person doing the 3-3-0 to go show in Oklahoma is correct. It's just the regular season. It's a tune-up for teams like Oklahoma City, Cleveland, and you know, Boston's already proven they can get it done. Excuse me. Who else am I missing at the top of the league? Memphis. Memphis is way up there. Houston Rockets. What are the Lakers going to be now that they have Doncic? It's hard to tell. People are like, oh, they're 16-4 in their last 20. But the truth is, they've played, like, out of those 20 games, I think 16 have been at home, the Lakers. So they're going to be going on the road a lot. I just don't think they have enough pieces. People are saying to get to the championship, the Lakers. I just don't think they have enough pieces. They have LeBron and Luka, and who else? Austin Reeves been playing well. Beyond that, they don't look deep. The bench is very thin. The role players are very thin. I'm getting way off track, but let me conclude with this. People talk about the NBA ratings not being good this year. Haven't been good in a few years. NBA Finals ratings have not been that great. I brought this up to my buddy the other day before I blocked and deleted him. I said, if you want a ratings bonanza just through the roof, Cavs versus LeBron in the finals. And it's not outside the realm of possibility. You know what I mean? I mean, that would just be a ratings bonanza. Especially because the Cavs would probably sweep them. But I don't know about that, but I think they would come close. Maybe the gentleman's sweep. I always thought that was funny, the gentleman's sweep. That means you win in 5 games as opposed to 4 in a 7-game series. I don't think that's very gentlemanly. Anyway, my jokes are getting stale, and so is my throat. So thanks so much. And look, great matchup, Cavs-Celtics. Great time to be excited about watching NBA basketball. March Madness is right around the corner. And if you love basketball, this is your time. March, right? NBA, April when the playoffs start. So very excited about all of that. Very excited that you guys continue to tune in and check out the website. And so with that in mind, Cavaliers, Celtics, Cavs will have like 20 games left after that, probably 22. And we will be talking about it all right here on 330 to go Hoops Wire Live. Thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you next time.